Now the next conundrum. This is the new bearing, okay, and I'm gonna replace that one that was on top here that was toast, and it's a sealed unit. And my problem is, it's a press fit. The OD of this bearing is a press fit into this cap, and the ID is a press fit onto here. So my conundrum is, do I press this into here, which is easy enough to do on the press, and then cap this onto here? I mean, or I could put the whole, I could rig something up so I could get this whole head assembly over by the press and press it on. Problem is, if I press on this cap, that'll have the effect of just moving this bearing in further. I don't think there's a there's no shoulder in there to stop it, so how do I know it's in far enough? I mean, I just cocked that in the bore just by pressing that lightly like that, and it's already stuck. I didn't paint the inside of this. That's just the way it is. There is a lip down there. I just don't know whether or not that's... Yeah, I'm going to put this in the press and seat that bearing all the way down in there. Well, I hope this is right. Sometimes I have to get creative. Now, I could move this whole thing up, but this is kind of a pain to move this up and down. So I've got this piece of plastic bag down on one of my flat plates, because that fresh painted surface, I don't want it all over this grease and stuff all over this. So, and then I need something that's going to push on the outside of the race, so I'm just going to use this square. This was in the Wells Index cabinet hoard. I don't know what it is, but we'll put that on like that. And then I've got this as a this is off of it's an Arctic Cat front axle U-joint or something. Talk about some ancient history, some of my first YouTube videos, that project. Do that. That should be high enough. Ooh. Close the valve. Wrist pin from the 353 Detroit. Eventually I'm going to set this shop press up in a spot, and I'll put a cabinet next to it, and I'll just have in the drawers of the cabinet, I'll have all of my little doohickeys here. Okay, so now this square piece that I've got here is now touching the top of that, so I can't go any further than that with the setup that I have now. The question is, do I even need to? In other words, that might be far enough already. I'm assuming that that should go all the way down and seat on the shoulder that I could feel inside there. Problem is now, I can't get my finger in there to see, to feel the shoulder. Well, let's go with that. See what happens. It's nice and flush. Alright, so now the challenge is going to be, I need to get this pressed onto this. And the problem is, I can't push on this inner race from the backside because this hole's too small. Really, this hole should have been large enough so that you could put a sleeve in there that would fit this right here, because you want to push on this, what I'm going to end up having to do, unfortunately, because of the way this is done, I'm going to have to push on. I'm going to have to push on this, which is going to be actually putting force on this cage that holds these ball bearings in place. I don't like that. I don't like it. If I could get some small packings in here behind this to fill that gap that's back there, then what would happen is as I push on this, it would actually be pushing on the packings, which would be pushing on this inner ring. Because that is going to be a tight enough of a press fit that I really don't want to get involved with bashing it. Heck yeah. Boy, I'm having trouble starting that. I'm wondering if I should have. I'm wondering now whether or not I should have ground a bevel on this edge right here. That's very sharp, that edge. That does not lend itself to pressing a bearing on there. Although there's a bevel right there on the bearing itself, so that really should take account for that. Boy, talk about a pain in the butt. This is gonna be. All the time that I'm going to be putting this together, I'm going to be trying to minimize the amount of stress I'm putting on these bearing assemblies. Great. Just great. Heck, if I put too much force on this shaft this way, I could pop this plate right out of here. That would be horrible. So that's not good. Alright, let's start by standing this back up. That's going to make my life a little easier as far as from a standpoint of trying to center this thing. I'll keep it centered. I cannot see that gap. Well, I can look down in this hole here and see where I want to be. Oh, damn it. That's not a thought. That's way too tight. Dead blow mallet. It's all greasy. See if I can look through the hole here to see whether or not it's moving when I do this, and it does seem to be. I can also look at it this way and see that it's not going on straight. Only got about 1/4 of an inch left to go. Well, I decided to try these screws before I drove this any further home, and I'm glad I did because the holes are still not quite lined up, and so I got to get this to shift around. Hopefully I can get this to rotate a little bit. I think I got it to move a little bit already. That one looks like it's, oops, please do it on the floor. That one looks like it's going. Alright, let's see these other two. Same problem as when I was taking these out. Pulley's actually in the way of where I want the screwdriver to be. So, I'm trying to get them started best I can with the screwdriver, and then I'll have to put a screwdriver bit from a screw gun on there, and a 1/4 inch wrench or maybe even a socket to turn it. And it's going to be the hardest one to get of them all, on the back side there. You know what? There's no reason I can't turn this around and get that one later. I do want to get these down a little further. Alright, so take a screwdriver bit, put it in a 1/4 inch socket, and it doesn't work. Sticker. Oh. The steel that those screws are made out of is pretty brittle because I just chipped the edge of that one on the other side. It's almost all the way down. Not quite. Alright. See if I get a wider tip than that one. All that trying to get fancy with it, and turns out sometimes it's just better to go back to the good old screwdriver. Just a little bit of a different size. And I'm able to get in there and tighten it all the way. You also give it a tap with the dead blow mallet to fully seat it. But that is now there's 2 out of the 3. Gotta turn it around. I'm at a bad angle here to get this back one. That's gonna be noisy. Okay, so here's the new plan. I've got the head down here on the cement floor, and I've got a piece of wood underneath there, about 3/4 inch thick piece of oak, and what got here is I got that wrist pin that I use for pressing things, and that's actually the perfect diameter to sit up underneath here. I'm going to stick this up underneath here and align it so that the shaft that goes right down through this spindle will be sitting on this, which will be in contact with the floor, so there'll be no give, so that when I bang on this, I will not be putting pressure on the lower bearing. I'll still be doing bad things to this upper bearing that I don't really care to do, but at least I will not be bashing on both of the bearings at the same time. And so I just wanted to show you what was underneath here before I put it underneath there, and I've also got to make sure the alignment is just right. I haven't checked the height just yet. I just kind of eyeballed it first. Okay, so I'm putting this in now, and you can see that's going to be a little too short. So I've got to get something underneath it. A piece of steel plate maybe might do the trick. Okay, so I can feel that I'm close enough. I'm in the ballpark here, so I can push this down. And now tap with this. Get my light, see. Make sure I'm still moving down. That's almost fully seated, but this part is still sticking up way too far. It makes me think that maybe the outside of the bearing here wasn't fully seated in this. Get the screws in and use the screws to pull it on home. that's it. Boy, that is awful. It's absolutely horrible. Not happy with that at all. I'm wondering if maybe the key is, now that I have this assembled, to go back down and loosen that ring that loads this bearing down here. But part of me is thinking all that's going to do is make that other bearing sloppy. Trying to figure out what the heck, trying to think of what's going on here. Well, for starters, let me get it back up here where I can see it better.